little bit of the backstory before introducing you to our next guest, Justin Kanew. So I had Cameron on the show Friday. My question last week was a simple one. Who is to blame here? Someone has to accept a portion of the blame for the fact that Shaquille Taylor was allowed out of jail after being accused of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without any sort of any of those charges coming back to him. He eventually was arrested for an auto theft charge, grand theft auto. That charge, he was allowed out on bond for $10,000. And as he was awaiting a court date, actually, I think he missed a court date in that trial. He has now been accused of shooting indiscriminately at an automobile and eventually killing Jillian Ludwig. I asked Cameron Sexton if there was something that could have been done prior to this event that would have avoided her death. He indicated that he had proposed, along with, in consultation with, I should say, District Attorney Glenn Funk, had proposed legislation that he believed would have prevented Shaquille Taylor from getting out of jail. So in the course of that conversation, and it was a good and robust conversation, and we followed up with him, we've had a couple of different people come forward and express their views regarding what the legislation would or would not have done, to include the Tennessee Star. Michael Patrick Leahy was here yesterday. We had an article written about us in the Nashville scene, and I was reflecting on that on social media, and I made mention that Aunt Betsy, I guess her name is welcome to come on the show to speak. I'll talk to anybody. And Justin Kanew's name came up, and I said, well, I've invited Justin on. Justin never agrees to come on with me. He does not have I think I called it the testicular fortitude to come on with me. And Justin immediately popped up and said, hold on, pal, I did agree to come on with you, and you never responded. He presented the tweet, which I missed. And so I said, well, come on up. And Justin said, okay, I'm coming on up. And so Justin Kanew of the Tennessee Holler is in studio with us. Hey, Justin.
Hey, Matt.
How are you?
I'm all right. Thanks for the invite.
It is my pleasure. Tell us, for those unfamiliar with the Tennessee Holler, how do you describe it?
It's a good question. We are a accountability journalism site, very digital, social media focused, that tries to yell the truth in our opinion about what's going on here in Tennessee. We're pretty openly progressive and, committed to certain things like trying to make sure people have health care in this country, trying to tell the truth about democracy, trying to push for things that we value, but also doing it in a newsworthy way and telling people what's going on at their capital. So we have about 11 hollers throughout the state. I run the Tennessee Holler. We have hollers in Knoxville, Memphis, Tri-Cities. And, we just work together to try to lift up the truth about what's going on here in Tennessee and hold people accountable.
Try to be a voice for progressivism in the state.
Sure.
So, in a way, you're doing for the political left what we're doing for the political right.
Sure. Yeah. I guess you could look at it that way. I ran for Congress in 2018. And when I ran, I felt the weight of the Tennessee Star, and it just didn't feel like there was a counterbalance to that on the progressive side of things that was, telling what I believe to be a different narrative and a more accurate narrative about what's going on here in Tennessee, where we're at the bottom in poverty, at the bottom in infant maternal mortality, at the bottom in medical bankruptcies. We have all kinds of issues in our state that don't get talked about by the people in power. So it felt like there needed to be a source for that information that really let people know what's actually going on in Tennessee.
So you think Tennessee's doing pretty poorly?
In a lot of ways, absolutely. By a lot of metrics.
You, about yourself, you originally hail from California?
Not originally, no. Originally, I'm from New York. Lived in California for about 15 years. Went to college in Chicago. Moved here about 7 years ago with my family.
Why did you leave California?
Left California because I was in the entertainment world in Los Angeles, and we wanted to raise our family in a place that wasn't the entertainment world. And, we moved here. Cost of living was lower, and, it was cows and goats and grass, and that felt like a place that we wanted to raise our kids. And Nashville is a great city.
The reason I ask is that, you came here for a reason.
Sure.
Was it the state that you thought it would be when you came?
Well, we didn't leave California because we were like, California is a cesspool and a hellhole, and we got to get the hell out of here, which I think is probably what you're hinting at.
No, not at all. I'm more curious if Tennessee was the place that you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, Tennessee's been great to our family. We love it here. It's our home, and that's why we try to work to make it as welcoming a place for everybody as we possibly can. So, I know I'm under no illusions that a lot of the things that we talk about and push for are not majority opinions in this state.
Yeah, sure.
But it feels like people need to hear the flip side of what's going on here and some of the things that don't get talked about a lot. And so that's the role I think we play as the holler. It's not to say Tennessee's a horrible place. It's not to say Tennessee is a place that people shouldn't come to. It's a place that actually has a lot of great things going for it, and I think it's worth fighting for.
You and I just met, but if someone who didn't know you looked at your Twitter feed, for example, don't you think it's fair that they would look at that and think, boy, this guy thinks Tennessee sucks?
I don't think we ever say Tennessee sucks. I think we say that the leadership here in Tennessee, the supermajority, takes it in a direction that hurts a lot of people when they don't focus on things like getting health care for people who need it, when they don't focus on things like raising the per pupil spending on education and keeping our schools at the bottom where they are and have been ever since I've lived here.
Are our schools at the bottom?
Per pupil spending they are, and then they've improved a little bit.
How much do we spend per pupil?
We're in like the 40 range, 42, and it's up from we were at 49 when we started.
So we may as well go. So tell me what amount of money would get us to the top. Tell us what amount per pupil would ensure that we would be in the top percentile.
Right, and I just had this conversation with Scott Sapicki at the Capitol about 15 minutes ago, and I don't have a specific number for you. But
of course you don't.
What I can tell you is
because there isn't one.
Removing billions of dollars in federal education funds is not going to take us in the right direction.
Yeah, but we're not going to do that.
And also,
we're not going to do that.
Are you going to let me talk? Did I come on here to have a conversation?
Well, you can talk when I allow because it's my show.
Oh, okay, I see.
And if you don't want to play by those rules, you can leave.
Oh, is that what you're going to try to do? Is get me to leave?
No, I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you the rules of the game, pal.
Okay, but the point is that education is linked to poverty. It's linked to inequality, and so adding money is not necessarily going to change everything all at once. But taking away money is certainly not going to help.
Right, and they're not going to do that.
Well, they're looking at doing it. That's what they're doing this week.
But they're not going to do that. They're not going to vote on it in this general session. I can tell you that they're not going to vote on it because I know you ought to know. You're down at the Capitol.
No, I think that they're
going to tackle school choice, which is a big. School choice is a big way that we can improve educational opportunities for the inner city students that aren't currently getting it.
Not the ones that are going to be left behind. If you want to have private school vouchers, take money out of our public school system and go to private religious schools, then that's not going to help public schools in general.
That's not what the legislation does.
That is what the legislation does.
Well,
that's why
you're not reading the same legislation that I am.
That's why Illinois just let theirs lapse, because it wasn't improving outcomes. It was taking money away from public schools, and that's what private school vouchers do.
It's all a part of
Governor Lee's.
Thank you, Chicago.
It's all a part of Governor Lee's intention to dismantle public schools.
The teachers' unions in Chicago created a dynamic by which they are billions of dollars in debt, which is what is sucking the money away from the rest of the Illinois school system.
If you care about public schools,
you're not talking to somebody that doesn't know his game.
If you care about public schools in Tennessee, you should not be supporting Governor Lee's privatization push.
Are your kids in public school?
Yes.
Do they get a good educational opportunity? Are they in Williamson County?
Yes.
And do you feel comfortable with their education?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because Williamson County has some of the best schools in the state.
Right. Don't you think Williamson County schools take resources away from Nashville city schools?
I think, I don't even know what that means. Yes, Nashville subsidizes the rest of the state through
you don't feel guilty about that?
What do you mean guilty about it?
That certain school systems in the state of Tennessee are suffering while your school system in Williamson County is doing so well. Don't you wish that those students in Nashville, for example, had an opportunity to come to Williamson County schools?
I think to give those students in Nashville an opportunity, we should fully fund our public schools and not be steering money to private religious schools.
Hold on,
through vouchers and charters and rejecting education funding. I'm sorry you don't like my answer, but that's the answer.
Your answer is full of misinformation.
No, it isn't.
I'm talking about allowing a parent to choose to move their child from the Metro Nashville system to the Williamson County school system where your kids go to school.
They already have school choice in this state. They can put their kids where they want to put them.
And the voucher system would further give them the
voucher system is not going to let them take their kid from Nashville to Williamson County schools. It's going to let them take their kid from Nashville to a private school in Nashville, assuming they have the money to pay for the rest of it.
It's giving parents most of the vouchers an opportunity.
Most of the vouchers are being used by kids who weren't even the public schools to begin with.
From system to system.
Vouchers are about.
You don't want Nashville kids in the Williamson County school system?
Of course we do. Vouchers.
Why
if they live in Williamson County, they County.
No. I'm talking about living in Nashville, letting them go to Williamson County if there's space availability.
You're talking about erasing the idea of counties and local school districts.
I'm talking about giving parents more choice in the education of their children, Justin.
No, what you're talking about, they have choice. They can send their kids to private school right now.
You have money. You have choice. I'm talking about these poverty folks that
if you want to send grants to these kids, that's great. But what you're doing is you're taking money away from the schools that already exist that are trying to service all kids.
You would agree with grants coming from Williamson County, from your school
grants
system to the national system?
We're for more money going in and funding schools. Absolutely. But what we're not for is taking money from public schools that are already struggling, taking money away and steering them to private schools, hurt the kids that are left behind.
Right, and that's not what the legislation
That is exactly what it does. And there's a reason that when that legislation passed, most Republicans didn't want it in their own counties, and it took bribery and threats from Glenn Cassida and military promotions being offered to people like John Mark Windle to get that passed, and he had to hold the board open because even Republicans didn't want it. And now what's going to happen this session is Rep. Mark White is going to try to push it to all 95 counties, which was what everybody warned about to begin with, and that's what's coming down the pike. So again, if you support public schools in Tennessee, and you don't want to see more money steered to private school vouchers away from your public school and your teacher where your kid goes to school.
If you don't want to have any choice, says Justin.
You're only thinking about a few kids. We're thinking about all kids.
I'm thinking about everybody. You're only thinking about your kids over there in Williamson County. That's fine.
No, we're thinking about kids in Murray County and Perry County and Hawkins.
Are the people of Are the people of Tennessee good people in your mind?
Yeah.
Then why do they elect such bad people?
I think they don't get the full story, and that's why the holler exists.
Really? So you think the people of Tennessee are just too dumb to recognize who is acting in their best interest?
No, I don't think they're too dumb.
But the people of Tennessee have elected a Republican supermajority.
Yes.
Right? Why? Why did they do that?
I think they only hear one side of the story.
So they're too dumb?
I think they only listen to 99.7. I think they only listen to Fox News.
They're listening to you. I'm asking
That's why I'm here. I hope they're listening to me.
So I'm asking you if the people of Tennessee are too dumb to realize that they're being snowed in.
I'm not saying the people of Tennessee are too dumb. No, I think they only get one side of the story, and that's why we exist as the holler, to try to shed some light on what's really going on in Tennessee.
What parts of the story are they not getting?
I just told you.
With regard to,
okay,
let's set the education piece aside.
Thank you for asking. So we're at the bottom in poverty. We're at the bottom in infant maternal mortality. We're number one in medical bankruptcies. Mm-hmm. We're at the bottom in per pupil spending. We're at the top in violent crime.
Then why did you move here?
What do you mean, why did I move here?
Why did you move here if we're at the bottom of all of this?
I just explained. You're just going to keep asking me that?
No. Didn't you do your research before you moved to Tennessee?
Those issues are not... I see the difference between... I'm going to answer you.
Did they not exist before
I'd
you
like
moved
the audience to hear that you keep asking me questions and interrupting me.
I'm not going to let you monologue.
The difference, you don't need to. The difference is that I don't only think about myself in Williamson County. Not every county is Williamson County. And when Governor Lee walks around this state talking about how great everybody's doing, talking about businesses, he's not thinking about everybody. He's not thinking about the impoverished places in the rural parts of the state. And so, yes, I'm not talking about Williamson County. Williamson County's doing great. If every county was Williamson County, we wouldn't be having these issues. But that's not the case. And so I don't only think about myself.
Right. How do you earn your living?
Through the holler.
You get paid through the Tennessee, through how does that work?
I'm not here to talk about the holler's finances. How do you get paid? How much do you make?
No. I'm not asking you how much you make. I get paid through Cumulus Media and through my endorsement opportunities that I broadcast from noon until 3 every day. So, no, I'm just asking.
The holler's model? You want me to tell you?
What is the business model?
The business model is, sure. The business model is we started in 2019. We are user supported. So we just figured if we were useful enough.
Do you receive donations?
Yeah.
So do you receive political donations?
No,
do you receive donations from political entities?
People chip in to us.
Do you receive donations from political organizations? Yes or no?
Political organizations, no. There's small dollar donations from people.
Political action committees, yes or no?
No.
So you don't receive from any political organization?
Well, political action committees. We get money from various people throughout the state. I'm not here to talk about the finances.
I'm not accusing.
We're an LLC. We don't have to disclose our money.
Defensive. I'm not
defensive. I'm just I'm not here to talk about the holler's finances with you. Well, just like you're not here to talk about Cumulus Media's donations.
I'm happy to talk about.
You don't even know it. So what are we talking about?
We're a for-profit organization.
So are we.
Right, right. So I'm just asking you how you earn your money. You don't have to get defensive.
I'm just telling you. That's how we get our money.
It's all right. We'll take a time out. We'll let you calm down for a minute because
you're getting calm.
You get excited because
you telling me I'm not calm doesn't make me not calm, buddy.
Justin Kanew is with us. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Justin Kanew is the proprietor of the Tennessee Holler. He's in studio with us as invited by me. It's 1:24. We'll have a few more moments of good conversation before we get to the bottom of the hour, and then hopefully Justin will stick around for a little while longer. You mentioned the issues that are of such importance to you and part of your kind of mission with the Tennessee Holler, and I want to revert back to that. You talked about education. And you said that Tennessee is at the bottom in spending per pupil.
Mm-hmm.
Are we at the bottom in terms of educational metrics?
I think it depends which, but I think we're towards the bottom. I don't think we're at the very bottom.
I think the last, right, I was somewhere in the middle. And why do you think there's that disparity between spending versus outcomes? I mean, we seem to be getting better outcomes versus spending. Based on your numbers?
I think there's a lot of reasons, but, generally speaking, my feeling about education is that it's linked to poverty. It's linked to inequality. Your zip code definitely does dictate a lot of what your outcomes are. So, again, I don't think spending money is the end all be all, but I don't think taking money away is going to take us in the right direction.
Don't we spend, you're saying that, so in Williamson County where your kids go to school.
Yeah.
Versus, for example, the Metro Nashville school system.
Yeah.
The spending is different? It's out of whack?
Well,
or is the spending the same?
In a place like Williamson County, where property taxes are high, where you have more of a pool to draw from, where you have wealthy parents that are able to facilitate and supplement what's going on at the schools and be involved, outcomes are better.
So you're blaming the inner city school parents?
No, I'm saying that when you have resources, then you're able to put more into the outcomes.
What I'm asking is if we spend as a state the same amount in the Metro Nashville school system as we do in Williamson County.
If we spend the same as a state? No, I think the
per pupil spending, is it the same?
Yeah, I think it's the same, yeah.
Right. Then why are the outcomes different?
I just explained it to you.
Right, so it's parental involvement, so it has nothing to do with money.
Resources.
It has nothing to do with money.
No, it's resources in those communities in many ways. Yes, absolutely.
Resources that you think need to be going into the schools?
This is a complicated, complex topic, but when you have parents that have, when parents are able to stay home and work from home, they can be more involved. So it's about parental involvement. A lot of it's about parental involvement. A lot of it's about property taxes, that money goes to these schools from property taxes and the counties that they're in. So you're saying
that the property taxes in Nashville are too low? They just went up. John Cooper. If it's about property tax, I'm just trying to figure out why there's a gap between the outcomes on education in Williamson County and Nashville when the money's the same.
The pool that you're drawing from in Williamson County is a much wealthier pool. And so, generally speaking, the outcomes...
The pool of what? The amount of money per pupil spending is the same, Justin.
No, counties put money in also. Well, what are you talking about?
We were talking about
missing the entire. You're missing the entire point. We're talking about
state funding. So you think the state should take over county funding now? The state should dictate to counties how they spend money?
Words in my mouth.
No, I'm asking the question.
What I'm saying is that yes, state funding may be the same from place to place, but there are other factors.
Thank you for agreeing with my point that I made 5 minutes ago, dude. The state funding is the same.
You are patting yourself on the back for a point that I don't even understand what you're making. Other factors go into what these schools get. Other factors go into the resources that these schools have, not just what the state puts in.
What resources does the Metro Nashville school system need besides money?
Okay, well,
that would improve outcomes according to you.
What does the Metro Nashville schools need? I think that it's a complicated topic. It has a lot to do with, like I said, inequality in the area. And I think that taking money away from these schools is not going to help them. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that putting money in is the magic bullet.
That's not the question I asked you. And so I'll ask you again.
It's the answer I'm giving you.
That's not the question I asked you. Okay. And I'm asking the question.
Sure.
So I'll ask the question again.
Yes.
Considering that the state contribution to these localities is the same, the amount of money is the same, I'm asking you why, outside of considering that those resources are the same, why the outcomes are different in your estimation.
I just explained it to you. That's not the only factor that goes into what these schools get. These schools get resources from other parts of the tax base. They have other factors in the community. So it's not just about state input.
The Metro Nashville school system needs to demand more money from Davidson County.
From Davidson County?
If it's about money, you keep going back to money. I'm trying to figure out if there's reasons beyond money. You said parental involvement.
No, I think the fight about money is because what's happening with the money in the state is that people are draining state resources away from the schools. And I'm not saying that the schools will magically be fixed if we don't do that. But I do know that taking money away from already underfunded public schools is not a recipe for success.
You're talking about the possibility of the voucher program that they're considering.
I'm talking about vouchers.
I'm talking about
federal education funding.
I'm talking about right now, as it exists right now. The outcomes are far worse in Davidson County than they are in Williamson County. And I'm trying to figure out if you have a reason inside your mind why that is right now, not moving down the road right now.
For the fourth time, I think that in Williamson County...
You still haven't answered it.
Yes, I have.
Time.
In Williamson County, it's the wealthiest county in Tennessee. And so when you have a wealthy...
I said beyond money, beyond...
But that's a big part of the reason. So why beyond money?
But I've asked
What's your reason?
No.
What do you think the answer is?
Parental involvement. Having a father in the home. That's my answer.
But you are able to have parental involvement when you have money.
I'm talking to you about...
Why do you think certain communities don't have parental involvement?
No.
I'm asking you.
Because you have parents having children out of wedlock or without a father within the home, or the father leaves the home, and so you have a single mother having to deal with it.
In certain communities?
Of course, in certain communities.
Which kind of communities?
I'm sure they're in Williamson County. They're in Davidson County. I'm sure they're in Murray County.
Which kind of communities?
They're in poor rural communities.
Thank you. Poorer? Is that what you said? Poorer?
Rural
what does poorer mean?
Yeah, but
what does poorer mean, Matt? Does that mean less money?
No, I grew up.
Does poorer mean less money?
Hold on, Justin.
Does poorer mean less money, Matt? I think it means less money, which is what I've been saying this whole time. So you just parroted my answer back to me and are telling me that mine isn't an answer.
No, I didn't. I'm telling you that parental involvement is
why do people have more parental involvement?
System.
And at the root of parental involvement is resources.
So you're saying richer parents have more time or energy?
Correct. Is that mind-boggling to you?
They have more inclination?
No, they have more time and energy and money and resources.
So why is it the government's job to give those parents money? Is that the government's job to give money to those parents to make sure?
Now you're taking this into a whole different direction.
Yeah, sure.
I'm not saying it's the government's job.
Direction because you're a socialist, right?
I am not a socialist.
Hang on,
I'm going to answer your question. I don't think it's the government's job to give these parents money.
That's not.
But I do think it's the government's job to provide public schools for our kids.
Okay. And they do that equitably.
Right, equitably, and not steer private schools.
So you agree with me that the government is providing equitable school systems across the state of Tennessee?
I think we need to fight for it.
Thank you. It's 1:32.
I think Republican leadership is trying to keep that from happening.
You got to take a quick time out. I'll give you a chance to finish up on the other side. Justin Kanew, you want another opportunity to talk about other things, right?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I've got to take a break. Got to pay the bills. We're a for-profit organization.
Do your thing, Matt.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Interesting conversation with Justin Kanew ongoing. He is the proprietor of the Tennessee Holler, and we appreciate him stopping by with us, invited, and he agreed to come. I want to back up for a minute because you and I are getting very heated and argumentative about very particular issues, and I think that's all well and good. People who disagree from a political perspective, does that, in your mind, that doesn't necessarily make them bad people?
Of course not.
Is that fair?
Of course not. I disagree with most of the people in my life on a lot of things.
But you and the Tennessee Holler propagated a response to the Tennessee Three, the Joneses and Gloria Johnson, that was bathed in racial rhetoric. Do you believe that the supermajority in the Tennessee legislature is racist?
Oh, I think they have a lot of racist tendencies, absolutely. I mean, from defending the KKK Grand Wizard bus that was in the Capitol for so long to the racist comments that were made by Judge Carter and another member of leadership calling somebody in the Democrats baboons, to the expulsion of 2 young black Dems. Do I think they know they're racist and it's like intentional? That might be debatable, but do they do racist things and have they shown themselves to be racist in many ways? Absolutely.
But the House of Representatives has to have rules, right?
Sure.
So what would you have done were you in charge and you had members of the body violating the rules of the body as voted on by the members and in a de facto way as voted on by the people of the state of Tennessee?
Well, first of all, the rules were voted on by the supermajority.
The rules, and who elected the supermajority?
I'm going to answer your question.
Come on, man. Who elected the supermajority? No. Don't spin. Who elected the supermajority? Tell me that, and then I'll let you finish.
I'm going to answer your question.
Who elected the supermajority? Tell me that, and I'll let you finish.
So
the people of the state of Tennessee.
To back up,
which you won't.
To back up,
the people elected those representatives.
What was going on that day was 6 people had been murdered in a school, and it was business as usual at the Capitol. Despite that, there were thousands of people at the Capitol.
No, it wasn't.
Calling for something to answer.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. I was there.
Not business.
You were not there. I was there.
No, Justin.
Yes, it was. Absolutely, it was.
Hold on a second.
And so,
who elected?
Thousands of people.
Who elected the supermajority in the Tennessee legislature?
Did.
The state of Tennessee.
Yeah. So that means they can do whatever they want.
No.
Who elected Joe Biden?
No.
Does that mean he can do whatever he wants?
How would?
No, that's not how that works.
How would you make the rules then? If you don't vote on it and the majority wins, how do you make the rules?
The rules that are being made by this Republican supermajority are beneficial to them. They are fascist in nature.
Then who is supposed to make the rules, dude?
Listen, I'm going to answer your question if you will let me.
Who is supposed to make the rules if not by a simple majority of the body?
The rule that they just made was basically Cameron Sexton gets to silence whoever he wants, gets to kick out whoever he wants, and gets to expel whoever he wants.
Then how would you have them make the rules?
I would have them make it a lot more fair than that.
And
then we can have a different discussion.
Then how do we vote on the rules?
I'm answering you.
How are those
rules determined? You don't seem to want my answer.
How are those rules determined? No, I'm trying to get.
I'm not talking about the rules.
You don't want to say what you know the conclusion is.
No, the conclusion is that.
Does the majority win?
The only 3 people that were doing what the people were asking them to do that day, all across Tennessee.
What people?
The majority of this state that wanted change on these gun laws.
That's garbage.
The majority of this state.
Then why don't they elect Democrats? The majority of the people elected those individuals in the supermajority that made the rules.
And I'll tell you, if you want me to answer your question, I will. They showed up. And by the way, sure, they broke a rule. Could they be censured? Sure. Expulsion is something that has only happened a few times in our history, and now it happened recently to 2 young black Democrats standing up for gun safety laws, which thousands of people were there that day pushing them to do.
What should have been the consequence?
That's a debate for, censure, whatever. I don't know what it should have been.
So you agree that they broke the rules? They should have been censured.
They knew when they were doing that they were breaking the rules and that something was going to happen, and they thought it was worth it. And I have talked to them since. They knew that was coming. They did not expect to be expelled.
So they did it intentionally?
Of course they did it intentionally.
They broke the rules intentionally?
Of course they did, yes.
Uh-huh. And they knew that expulsion was a possibility?
I don't think they thought expulsion was a possibility.
Did they not read it?
Read what?
The rules. The rules state
the rules don't say that if you cause a disturbance, you get expelled. There have been others that have caused disturbances at the legislature that did not get expelled. Why wasn't Gloria expelled then?
Was expulsion a possibility?
A possibility? Expulsion's always a possibility.
Because Jody Barrett decided that her excuse was good enough.
Expulsion is always a possibility. Anytime, for anything.
So they broke the rules intentionally, knowing that expulsion was a possibility.
Expulsion's always a possibility.
Well, then why
didn't they expel David Byrd? See, it's very selective. And that's the point, that they only chose to do it for these 2 young black Democrats that were standing up for what most of the state thought was the right thing to do that day.
Right. So, and you're suggesting that they did that only because they were black?
No, I'm not suggesting that, but I do think racism comes into it.
Then why are you bringing up the color of their skin? Why do you see color?
It's a fact.
Why do you see color, Jeff?
Because everybody sees color. You do too. You're just lying if you say you don't.
Okay.
It's just a fact.
I'm just asking the question.
People who are saying to be colorblind are not saying to not see color. They're saying to see color and love them anyway. That's the point.
I love all people.
Great.
I love all God's
but you do see color. You know those are 2 black men. So saying you don't see color is just not true.
Right. So, but you bring up the color of their skin for no reason because you accept the fact that they were not
a white man. There's no reason to them. To young black men, there's plenty of reason.
I'm a white man now.
You are. Yes.
Am I?
Are you not? You look like one.
Am I?
I don't know.
Do you know? Now you're making assumptions.
Yes, I am.
Now you're being racist.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
Because I called a white man, I'm being racist.
That's fabulous. That's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you believe in rules. You think that there should be rules in the Tennessee legislature.
Sure.
All right. And who votes on those rules?
The legislature.
The legislature. And majority wins, right?
Yes. I'm not saying that they can't do what they did. I am saying that the rules that they made are selectively enforced, and they seem to only apply to certain people in the legislature.
Right. So you believe that...
That doesn't sound like democracy to me.
I'm sorry. Who else brought a bullhorn besides Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson to the floor of the House of Representatives?
Well, Jones was the only one who brought the bullhorn, and he brought the bullhorn because he knew his mic was going to get cut, and he had something to say.
And he knew that he was violating the rules.
Of course he did.
Right. So he should accept his punishment.
But he did accept his punishment. And then he got sent back by the people that sent him there to do exactly what he did.
And he got sworn back into office.
That's right. And he's back there now.
But isn't that how democracy looks like?
Yeah, that is how democracy looks like. But that doesn't make expelling them okay. So that means the people stood up for them.
So I'm glad you agreed that there should be rules.
Yeah.
You agree that they knowingly violated the rules. Yes. And you agree that expulsion was an acceptable form of punishment per the rules.
Absolutely not.
Per the rules.
No, I don't.
It was in the rules. How can you disagree with
There's a lot of things that are in the rules that I don't agree are acceptable.
It was,
like, for instance, voice votes.
An acceptable
do you
form
support
of
voice votes? Voice votes are ridiculous.
Rules.
Voice votes, you got chairs of committees sitting there deciding which side wins, even though they don't raise their hands. And I've seen it go many times against the majority. So there are plenty of things that are in the rules that are not democratic. So just them being in the rules does not by nature make them acceptable and democratic.
The rules that are set forth by the elected body, a body elected by the people of the state of Tennessee and voted on by that same body, that's not a democratic process.
Are you saying there are no rules in this country that you disagree with?
That was a question I just asked.
Are you saying...
you answer mine and I'll answer yours.
Are you the same person?
I disagree with plenty of the rules.
Did Biden win the election?
I'm asking you. Biden is president of the United States.
No, did he win the election?
Yes, unfairly.
Unfairly? Why do you say unfairly?
Yeah.
I'm using your exact logic against you here.
And I'll tell
unfairly
you
why, Matt? It's in the rules. The judges upheld it.
Because the House of Representatives of the state of Pennsylvania voted on election rules that were violated by the Pennsylvania Supreme Court against the Constitution.
According to you. Not according to any of the lawsuits that came after it.
Now who doesn't want the answer to the question?
I'm just telling you. You're saying that you don't like the rules when they apply to certain things that you do. And you have a right to feel that way.
I'm just answering your question.
You have a right to feel that way.
Right.
Just like I have a right to feel this way about the rules in Tennessee.
You believe the expulsion rule, which was voted on democratically by the House of Representatives, was unfair?
Yeah, it's applied selectively. Absolutely, it was unfair.
Although there was only one group of people that brought a bullhorn, which is why
didn't they expel David Byrd?
Why they were expelled?
Why didn't they expel David Byrd?
No idea.
David Byrd admitted on tape to doing horrible things. Why didn't they expel him?
I have no idea.
Right.
I have no idea.
Because it's selectively applied. They didn't even investigate it.
Did he take a bullhorn down to the floor of the House?
So you're saying there's only one rule that can be expulsion worthy?
No, I'm talking specifically about the Tennessee 3.
So am I. I'm saying it's selectively applied.
You're trying to change
That's my issue with the rule. It's selectively applied.
You admitted
I am talking about the rule. It's selectively applied.
You admitted that they violated the rules.
Yes, they did.
You admitted that a form of punishment under the rules was expulsion, and you just don't like the fact that those rules got applied to those individuals.
Correct.
And you suggest on this radio program that the color of their skin had something to do with it, although when pressed on that matter, you cannot tell me how or why.
I absolutely can tell you how and why. You have two young black men getting expelled from the legislature for the first time in a very long time, and the white woman didn't. And yes, it looks to a lot of people like they were racial expelled.
She should have been expelled.
Okay, that's fine. But if you put it in context of keeping that Klan Grand Wizard bust in the Capitol, the racist comments that have been made even by members of leadership, yes, you start to add up that if you were in different skin, I'm just speaking for myself here.
Wait.
I'm speaking for myself here.
When did that bust get removed?
2 years ago.
Was it?
3 years ago.
It hadn't been here since I've been here.
Okay, well, they fought pretty hard for it, and both the Republican leader of the Senate and Republican leader of the House voted against removing it, and that bust was hurting a lot of people. So, yes, there are things over time here that have felt very racist.
I think you're hurting far more people than that bust ever did.
I am?
Yeah.
How am I doing that?
By your racial rhetoric and the racial divisiveness.
My racial rhetoric?
Yeah.
But you're not.
You have no evidence that any of this had anything to do with the color of their skin, yet you bring it up repeatedly on this radio show.
I am. First of all, you asked me the question. You asked me the question. I didn't come here saying
about my personal ethnicity.
I didn't come here saying.
I mean, come on,
racist. You asked me if I thought it had something to do with it. If I thought the Tennessee legislature.
And you offer no evidence.
I've offered you 10 things, as anybody who's listening to this knows. There's a reason. There's a history of instances of racist rhetoric in the legislature, and if you are a young black man who is a representative there and you get expelled, it's hard to ignore the context that is happening in. So yes, I do think that plays a part in it. Now, do I think everybody in the legislature is openly racist and horrible? No, that's not what I'm saying. I think at times there's a blind spot for racism, and I think they need to open their eyes to it, and denying it.
Do you think black people can be racist?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just checking. How many genders do you think there are?
Here we go. Yeah, I expected you to talk about the trans stuff. How many genders do I think there are? I think there's male, female, and men and women, and I think there's that if trans women are real also, and trans men are too.
So how many is that?
I mean, however many you want to count, Matt. I'm not going to sit here and...
No, I'm asking you. How many genders are there?
I think there's men and women.
So 2?
Sure.
Okay, good. We're getting somewhere. Is Hamas a terrorist organization?
Yes.
Do you believe that being pro-ceasefire is pro-Hamas prior to the release of hostages?
No, I don't.
Tell me how.
Well, this is a topic that I haven't really talked about much. And just to give the context, my grandparents survived Auschwitz. I have family in Israel. I was bar mitzvahed in an Orthodox temple. What Hamas did was horrific, inexcusable. And, you know, I weep for the people of Israel. I weep for the hostages that have been taken. And yes, I think Hamas is inexcusable. I am seeing the bombs drop every single day. I'm seeing the babies pulled from rubble every single day. And I don't think that giving Hamas what they wanted, which was exactly this response, is making the people of Israel safer and making the people of Palestine safer. So I completely understand the calls for ceasefire. I completely understand the rabbis and Jews that are out there calling for the bombs to stop dropping. I think it's a very difficult situation. It's a difficult one for Biden to be in. But also, Bibi Netanyahu is a very right-wing militaristic leader. And so to pledge unending loyalty to a man like that, I think is somewhat irresponsible, and saying that there are no red lines is irresponsible. So it's a difficult one. I am torn about it. I've had trouble talking to my family and friends about it. This is actually the first time publicly I've said anything about it. But yes, my heart is with the bombs to stop dropping and to stop these kids from dying.
Well, I mean, I would love for that to be the case too, but you have to root out those terrorist individuals with evil in their heart that committed these atrocities against the people of Israel.
I understand that, and I'm having like a calm conversation. I think it's a difficult topic.
I understand.
What I would say to that is, I don't know that what they're doing right now is rooting out Hamas. I think they might be making Hamas stronger. And if what we want is peace at the end of the day, I think the sooner the bombs start dropping and the sooner we start talking about a two-state solution and living in peace, the better. So, yes, if I could snap my fingers hang on, let me just finish that. If I could snap my fingers and have Hamas disappear, I would do it. But I don't necessarily think that's what's going on there. And at the end of the day, I think just like we turned ISIS loose when we invaded Iraq, they might be making Hamas stronger with what they're doing right now.
Okay, I would like peace amongst peaceful, mindful people.
Yes, which many Palestinians are.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I would like the Israelis to root out the murderous, terroristic bastards that killed innocent Jews.
Would I.
And the only way to do that is to get to the tunnels where they are.
Yeah, I mean, you say that.
The tunnels are under the hospitals.
You're just saying that. I mean, tunnels under...
It's true.
But what I will say about that is the tunnels under the hospitals and human shields thing, can be used to excuse literally any act. And if you're watching on social media, not these curated places, you're seeing that refugee camps are being blown up, ambulances are being blown up. In Lebanon, they just bombed a family with girls and a daughter, and a grandmother. So Israel is not completely innocent here, and that's not all they're doing is just rooting out these tunnels. So again, I don't think we are getting closer to making everybody safer by continuing to drop these bombs. And like John Oliver said this week, at some point you're going to have to stop dropping bombs, and at that point Hamas may regroup. But why not start now before we kill more kids? Thousands of kids are dying, Matt. And yes, my heart is in those kids stopping dying.
On killing the murderous bastards.
So do I, but that's an easy answer. So do I, but that's an easy answer, and that's not what happened.
Well, what a ceasefire would do,
I get the logic behind what you're saying.
We can have an earnest discussion.
But that's not necessarily what's happening.
I think it's an important discussion from people of different mindsets to have on this issue. And I hope that you come back and have a further discussion with us. We've spent an hour with a robust disagreement on a number of topics. Justin,
thank you for happening.
I enjoyed it.
I hope your audience will follow the holler and maybe let a little bit of a different opinion in. And I appreciate you having me on here. And, I think we have more in common than we realize.
Well, we barely touched the surface and I appreciate you talking about this issue. I didn't know your background on the issue. We barely touched the surface on transgender-based issues and so many of the other things. I'm not afraid of that conversation with somebody who disagrees from a different point of view. Well, let's do it again.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
There's Justin Kanew of the Tennessee Holler.